tuning in. If you don't know, about a week ago, I had an event called called Real Talk with Young Conservative, a panel event. And what we did was we talked with young conservatives, or I did, about the future of the GOP. And in the research for that, I came across a really interesting fact, which is that in 2020, the GOP did not really have a platform. There was no policy platform. It was completely recycled from 2016. And the official cause for that was that COVID had happened and they didn't want to have a platform that was shot, there were different parts of, because not everyone could get together. We now know from a lot of political reporting that it was really because Jared Kushner wanted to revise the whole platform, and there was a lot of infighting with conservative activists and grassroots groups who were not okay with the changes he wanted to make. But what really stood out to me is that the Republican Party in 2020 really had an identity crisis. Everything was wrapped around Trump, and everything was wrapped around what should we do with Trump? How can we market Trump? There wasn't a lot of push of ideas. And I think the reason for that is because there was no platform, essentially. In 2020, Democrats had a policy platform. It was 92 pages long. It was detailed. It was revised. It was put out to its voters and to its grassroots network. Whereas in 2020, we were still using the same one from 2016, and 2020 was a very different world. First of all, a lot of the issues that were new and interesting in 2016, talking about immigration or national security, they had already been things that Trump had been talking about for 4 years. So fast forward to 2020, and Trump is talking about the same things he's always been saying, and they're less interesting because American voters have heard them. So their voters are bored. And second of all, there's stagnation within the party because there hasn't been this convention of new ideas. And if you don't think the party platform is really important, just think about this. From 1980 until 2004, both Democrat and Republican lawmakers in Congress voted in accordance with their platform 82% of the time. That's how important the party platform has been. So for Republicans not to have one, essentially, didn't really make any sense. And it explains why in 2020, a lot of us would say, why isn't Trump talking about his new accomplishments with stopping human trafficking, with taking on China? Why isn't he discussing those things? And it's because they weren't in the party platform. His own accomplishments, his own new issues and new agenda items were not anywhere highlighted to be discussed. Instead, we had the same conversations over and over again about, stupid liberals and immigration, the things that had excited people 4 years ago, but that were not really conducive to a modern platform. So for a lot of Democrats, they looked at this as a golden opportunity to say, we do have a platform, and we have a platform that really appeals to the young up and coming voters in our party and in our base, and we have a platform that older Democrats can really get on board with because Biden is the messenger for it. So going into 2022, and the reason why I'm talking about this is, again, we don't have a platform. There is no 2022 GOP platform. Instead, what's happened is we have a couple buzzword issues. We have things like protecting the vote, voter integrity. These are issues I see a lot of candidates discussing the economy and healthcare, but they're not actually discussing what the GOP thinks about them. Instead, they're having the same conversations over and over again that we had in 2016, where a Republican will say, let's get rid of Obamacare, but there's no actual replacement or explanation of why anymore. So in 2022, I don't want the GOP to fall into the same trap of thinking, hey, issues won in 2016, let's just recycle them, because Democrats didn't think that way and did very well. So in 2024, if there's still not a platform, are you going to have the same boring, uninteresting talking points that you had in 2020 that were repeated from 2016? Because if you do, what you will have is Democrats showing more and more shiny new issues that resonate with young voters, climate change, crypto, anything that will get people interested, and Republicans just sort of having what they think they should be repeating because Trump has said it. Trump may be the leader of the party, but he's not the thought leader of the conservative movement. He never has been. He's been the person to put out ideas, but he's never been the person to explain them or break them down or explain how we can institute the policies that go along with those ideas. So for Republicans who are wondering, Republican voters, why are there no new ideas in conservatism? It's not because Republican voters don't want them. It's not because we don't have them. It's because there's no new platform. We're literally using the same playbook as like 5 or 6 years ago, whereas Democrats are updating them. And if you have one side updating the playbook and one side using a stagnant version of it, which side do you think is going to win in culture, in politics, and legislation? The one using the updated playbook. And that goes hand in hand with political strategy. If you have the same political strategists that you've had since 2016 talking about the same issues that are played out, why would voters care about them? They wouldn't. They would look for something new and interesting. The GOP is so out of touch with what voters want, they don't even understand what the political landscape of America is anymore, because the issues that they're championing are like half a decade old, which doesn't make any sense. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Please retweet this, share this, and I hope this explains to you or helps you understand why the GOP in the last 3 years has looked so out of touch. Because this is the core issue. Republicans need to have these great meetings of thought leaders and intellectuals in the movement to decide where the policies are. They need to have those moments of conversations, those conventions. And instead, what happened was Trump wanted Kushner to just sort of revise everything and make the Republican Party platform the size of a business card. That's a lovely marketing tactic, and it's really lovely to say that on a debate stage. But thoughts and ideas and intentions and interests and policies, they need to be long winded because they need to be instituted in a massive way. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Please retweet this, share this, and go ahead and comment your thoughts below. And go ahead and follow me on Twitter if you'd like.